All right, welcome back. This is the Unit 2A 0 period Part 3 video. So if you haven't seen Part 1 and 2, make sure to go watch those. This is Part 3. Okay, before we left off on practicing slope, and so let's get back into that. So we were using this equation, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And so with that, they're giving us just 3 points. This is the first point they gave us, so let's label it x1. y1, this is the second one, so we're going to label it x2, y2. So let's just follow the pattern and plug it into the formula. So y2 minus y1, so 4 minus 1, so 4 minus 1, divided by x2 minus x1, 4 minus 1. So 4 minus 1 is 3, over 4 minus 1 is 3. And so 3 divided by 3 we know is just 1. And so with that, at that point you're done. After that, we have one more to practice. I'm going to let y'all try some. So it's what is the slope of the line that passes through the points 2, 2 and 14, 2. So that's x1, y1 and x2, y2. So let's take them. So 2 minus 2 is that. 14 minus 2 is that. So we'd have 0 over 12. Well, what's 0 divided by 12? That's just 0. All right. Now, there are a few for you guys to try. Those 3 right there. So go ahead and try those and then unpause the video when you are done trying those. All right, let's see how you did. So this one was our x1, y1. This one was our x2, y2. So hopefully you had negative 18 minus negative 3 divided by negative 19 minus negative 1. So that makes it negative 15 over negative 19 minus 1. That's negative 18. Now, you probably have noticed that a negative divided by a negative is a positive, but I think we can also reduce these a little bit more. I think 3 will go into both of them. So if we divide this one by 3, that makes a 5. If we divide this one by 3, that makes a 6. And so the reduced simplest form answer would be 5 over 6. All right, for this one, there was an x1, y1 and an x2, y2. Hopefully you had negative 3 minus 9 divided by 18 minus 2. So that made that one negative 12 over 16. And again, I think we can reduce. I think 4 will come out of both of those. And again, if you don't like reducing just by thinking about it, you can always plug that in a calculator and it'll reduce it for you. That's negative 12 divided by 16. So 4 coming out of both of those will make it negative 3. And then divide that one by 4, so 4. Negative 3 over 4 would be your simplest form. Okay, one more y'all did. This one was x1, y1. This one was x2, y2. And so that one was hopefully 10 minus negative 2. Divide that by 4 minus 4. Now, y'all might have seen something funky here, because 10 minus negative 2, yeah, that's 12. But 4 minus 4 is 0. Remember that dividing by 0 is not a thing, right? You can't split something 0 times. And so we would call that one undefined. Whenever you end up with something that is dividing by 0, that means that it is undefined. All right. So, reminder, one quick thing before we move on to the day 3 stuff. Just a reminder that I have the Delta Math sections listed on which part corresponds to what. So there's a list there. I have them labeled, each individual one as well. Like here it says one-step literal equations level 1, multi-step literal equations level 1, right? So all those listings are there. So if you're like trying to track, okay, which part of the Delta Math corresponds to what, that's where I have those listed. All right, let's jump to day 3. Knock it out, get it done. All right, so day 3 is all about the properties. Okay, so we're going to be just talking about how did they get to what, right? And then I'm dedicating some time for you to finish the rest of the delta math. Okay, so for this one, it says when solving an equation, Francesca's first step is shown below. Which property justifies the first step? Well, let's look at what she did. She took this negative 1/3, right, and is gone. Well, what could she have done? Well, she could have divided by negative 1/3, but y'all might think that's a little bit weird, right? Because usually we don't divide by fractions. We multiply by the reciprocal. So, with that, I'm going to note a couple things. Divide by negative 1/3, or multiply by the reciprocal. Now, remember what the reciprocal is. That's flipping it upside down. So flip that upside down, that'd be negative 3/1, or just negative 3. Okay? And so what that really is the multiplication property. Okay, I think on delta math, these are multiple choice ones. And so you just pick the multiplication property. Okay, let's check out this one. So this one had, when solving an equation, Gabrielle's first step is shown below. Which property justifies Gabrielle's first step? So 2x equals -4. Well, the 2x is gone. Well, what was happening between that 2 and that x? That would be multiplication. And so divide it over. Okay, so divide that 2 over would mean that it was the division property. Okay, y'all try those next two, and then unpause when you're ready to check. Alright, so for this one, hopefully you saw that they just divided by -4. So that would, of course, be the division property. And then, for this one, hopefully you saw that they just added 2. And that's all they changed. They hadn't got rid of their negative yet, right? They would keep going if they're going to fully solve it. But they just moved that 2 over there. So that was the addition property. Okay. All right, that finishes up Unit 2A. So if you have been doing your Delta Math sections as you go, those should be totally done at this point, and that would allow you to recover your Unit 2A grade. If you need to, at this point, go ahead and go back and do those. It's your time to go ahead and go back and do those, right? So each Delta Math section is listed again, just like I showed you earlier, okay? If this is your first time doing recovery, like you didn't have to do Unit 1, okay? I have another video on my YouTube channel, which is just titled How to Access Zero Period Delta Math, okay? Just how to access zero period Delta Math. That video is what you need to watch if you're like, what are you talking about, this delta math, right? Okay. Go and watch that video, and it'll show you how to get set up so that you can start knocking out this delta math and recovering your grade. All right. Thank you, guys.